Listen, if you're moving to Kelowna, BC, the last thing you want to be doing is hours of research trying to figure out if it's affordable to live here and trying to estimate all of your costs. We all know that life over the last couple of years has gotten more and more expensive, making certain places almost unlivable. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the costs for living here in Kelowna, BC, updated for 2024 to help you put your mind at ease and do all of the hard work for you by putting all of this information in one easy to watch video. So let's take a look. Hey everybody, Brett Boholij here from Century 21 Executives Realty and the Welcome Home team. And if you want to learn everything there is to know about playing, sleeping, eating, and living in Kelowna, BC, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We have people who are moving out and reaching out to us every single day, and we absolutely love it. So if you're even considering making the move out to Kelowna, BC, make sure you reach out to. Give me a call, text, email at the information on the screen right now, and just know that I got your back when moving to this beautiful BC Valley. So let's get into it. Like I said at the top of the video, we're gonna be exploring what it costs to live in Kelowna, BC in 2024. And honestly, I think you're gonna be a little surprised. You know, I've said it 10 times, 100 times already in different videos, but BC, what does it mean? Bring cash. And you know, when I started doing this research, making sure everything that was updated for 2024, because I have done a previous video on that, I was a little bit surprised to know that Kelowna, you know, it is expensive. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to act like it's the cheapest place to live in Canada, but it's not as bad as I thought. Compared to the rest of BC, it's kind of average, but compared to the rest of Canada, it doesn't really stick out like a sore thumb like I thought it would. I think since inflation has gone up over the last couple of years, various markets around the country, including Calgary. I mean, Southern Ontario has always been expensive, but even my family back home in Manitoba talk about all of the price increases around there. So life in general, it's more expensive. But from my research, I kind of feel like maybe it hasn't increased as much as the rest of the country since it was already a little bit more expensive. So maybe surrounding places and surrounding areas and out east is kind of catching up to us at this point. Again, certain areas and aspects, including housing and renting, we're up there. We're kind of top of the board. But when I was doing comparisons on us to the rest of BC, we were kind of lower in the pack than I initially thought. So let's start out by looking at the average salary. The average salary that a person makes in Kelowna is anywhere from $50,000 to $60,000. I pulled all of the information I gained from this video from different blogs and websites, and I kind of compiled my own information as well from, you know, living here and actually experiencing life here, and amalgamated all those numbers together and kind of got averages for each category. If you are watching the video and you're from here and you feel like I'm way out on some of these numbers, let me know down in the comments below. But yeah, average salary for Kelowna is between $50,000 to $60,000. You know, we have a burgeoning tech sector here. There's plenty of job opportunities. The average hourly wage is between $26 and $33. And just a reminder, if you are coming from a province that doesn't have provincial sales tax, the global sales tax for the province of British Columbia is 12%. That includes 7% goods and sales tax and a 5% provincial tax. So total of 12. That is always the nicest part about going to Alberta. I stock up on everything from liquor, and if I have a big purchase, I try to get it there. Save that 5%. Does make a big difference. Groceries is going to be a bit controversial because I find that we do have such a variety in prices from store to store. If you are looking to save money, you're going to want to shop at Superstore, Walmart. I've heard IGA has really good deals, but number one on the list is you got to get a Costco membership. Even if you're a single person, I think it's worth it. I mean, I would absolutely get it as a single person. I think me and my wife always talk about we eat enough for a family of 4 at least. So if I was a single person, I would definitely get a Costco membership. Everything's so cheaper there. Buy a freezer, buy the freezer from Costco. It's going to be even cheaper. Bring it home, store a bunch of meat, store everything you can in the freezer, and just buy everything in bulk. It's so much more affordable. You know, we eat a lot of Greek yogurt, great source of protein. And if we happen to run out and I'm just like, I'm going to run into a store and just grab one tub of Greek yogurt, you're looking at $7 to $10, where for I think it's $13.99, $14.99. You get 3 huge tubs of it from Costco. And I equate that to everything. Anytime you're like, oh, I need a carton of eggs, go get the 36 eggs from Costco. They last a long time, and it's gonna be so much cheaper than just buying from a store. The estimated monthly grocery bill here for a family of 4 is anywhere between $1,000 to $1,400. And again, let me just tell you, me and my wife, we do have a baby. He doesn't add a lot to the food bill, but you know, me and my wife definitely probably spend around that a month just for us. I mean, that's the thing too. If you're a healthy person, shopping at the local farmers markets, sometimes you can get good deals on vegetables and that. The biggest cost for everything here is protein. Protein is so expensive everywhere. And if you eat as much, you work out and you try to hit your protein goals a day, and you're buying mostly animal-based products, it's gonna add up the grocery bills. Definitely the most expensive part of groceries for sure. Now, from the research I looked, it says the average grocery bill for a single person is anywhere from $600 to $800. I actually saw places that said $400 to $800. I'm positive you can keep your grocery bill extremely low. I find the healthier you eat, and if you track your macros or you try to eat higher protein, that's when your grocery bill is definitely gonna creep up to closer to $1,000 a month, I would guess. Maybe people don't eat as much as us, but that's where our grocery bill is generally sitting month to month. So now let's take a look at restaurants, going out to eat. Now, similarly to groceries, I feel like I'm probably on the higher end of this. Me and my wife don't go out to eat that often, and when we do, we kind of pig out. We, like most annoying people, consider ourselves foodies, so we don't go out as often, but when we do, we're hopping around, we're getting drinks, we're getting appetizers, we're getting meals. So our going out bill when we do go out is probably going to be more expensive than the normal person, but I did find some of these numbers maybe slightly off. I will say, I think these numbers are all based off if you're not buying drinks. Now, from the research I found, it stated that the average cost for going out to breakfast was between $20 and $30, which, is kind of yeah, you can go to Tim Hortons and get a breakfast sandwich for a lot cheaper, but going out for a sit-down breakfast, I feel like that's one of the biggest increases in terms of going out to eat. I remember there used to be $5.99, $6.99 specials for the biggest breakfast you could ever imagine. Now you look at the prices on some, especially the fancier style breakfast, which Kelowna has a lot of those and they are really delicious, but I don't want to spend $50 to go out to breakfast. That's crazy. I don't want to spend $5 on a coffee and $30 on a pretty standard breakfast, but maybe it has some hollandaise sauce on it. I think that gets out of control. So 20 to 30 for breakfast for the average person is going to be standard, and I think that's, you're going to definitely be in that price range. Going out for lunch, I think you can spend anywhere from $25 to $35. There's a lot of cheap eats for lunches. I think lunch is probably the least expensive meal you can go out for. And with this, it depends where you're going out. If you're going for a sit-down meal, obviously going to be more expensive than if you get pad thai takeout, which I think now is around $15 at a lot of the places, or you're just getting a quick thing for pickup. You can eat cheap. You can look for deals. You can go to Domino's and grab the coupon to get 6 pizzas for $30, or you can go to a restaurant and spend $30 on one pizza that's not even going to fill you up. And I'm not hating on any of the restaurants here. There's tons of delicious places to eat that have great deals, great happy hours. They just got hit hard during COVID. They're still trying to recover and recuperate their costs, so something they have to do. Now, the average cost of dinner, I think, is going to be the biggest variance. I think on average, going out, you're getting something simple, you probably look to spend anywhere from $40 plus, I would say. Depends, are you getting drinks? Are you going to one of the higher end restaurants? You're probably looking closer to $100. I find this category kind of hard to really nail down a number because there's such a variance. If you want to go for a quick takeout, it's going to be way cheaper. Sit down, more expensive. Said that enough times. The average cost of a beer here is around $8, which I think is pretty accurate, and the average cost of a cocktail is around $13. Make sure you look for happy hours and drink specials. Makes your life way better, more affordable, and you can get drunk for a lot cheaper if that's what you want to do. Right now, the average cost for gas is hovering around $1.70 to $1.80. I think it's still under $1.70. I think it's around $1.66 if you get gas at Costco. Again, another reason to get a Costco membership. Just do it. If you live here, if you live anywhere with a Costco, especially if they got Costco gas, get a Costco membership. We have the highest membership, the gold tier membership or whatever it is. You have to pay a certain amount a year, but you also get money back. And the money we get back every year more than covers the cost of our membership. So it's entirely worth it. It's like I'm a rep for Costco. I want you to shop there so badly. Okay, now let's look at transit. When talking about a transit pass, taking the bus system, you're gonna be looking anywhere from $70 to $90 I've seen on different sites for a transit pass. The annual average cost of vehicle insurance in Kelowna was quoted at $1,410, getting pretty accurate with that number, but that's what you can expect to pay. So you have to get basic coverage and liability here with ICBC. So you don't have the option. It's not like Alberta, can't remember where else, no, Manitoba has public, Ontario, Alberta and Ontario have private insurance companies. You have to get the basic coverage and liability with ICBC here. Then for any additional coverages that you want to put on your vehicle, you can shop around private, and there's tons of companies here that do that. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money, that's probably the route to go. Now let's move on to rentals. Now the next two categories with rentals and housing are going to be the areas in which Kelowna is on the higher end. And let me just say this, the higher end in terms of Canada wide, not the higher end of BC. I always assumed that Kelowna was going to be third on everything. You know, it's going to go Vancouver, Victoria, and then Kelowna right underneath. But popping up, you know, top 10 expensive places to live in Canada, top 20 expensive places to live in Canada, and doing the same for BC alone, Kelowna didn't hit many of those lists. It would go, you know, Vancouver, Victoria, it would throw Nanaimo out there sometimes. It would throw Chilliwack area. A couple of them threw Kamloops on there and not Kelowna. Now, from living here, from having been to Kamloops, not many times, but I do think Kamloops overall is a bit cheaper, but maybe I'm wrong. It was on some lists that Kelowna wasn't, and I was like, I don't know about that. I don't think these people have done their research enough, but yeah, these are just lists from a lot of news sites and popular sites, so they're not always the most accurate. But I will say, when doing this, Kelowna was third on the most expensive rental places in Canada and now have dropped to 14. So like I said, Kelowna I think has been a little more expensive for a while now, but with inflation and everything increasing in price, I think places are just starting to catch up to Kelowna, which, you know, I always consider that one of the biggest barriers when moving here. You know, it's a lot pricier. And again, BC is pricier in general. If you're coming from the East Coast to here, you can expect to pay a lot more. And housing is somewhere where we still stick out, and rentals, we are a bit higher, but overall, I don't think it's as much of a barrier anymore. You know, I'm talking to people, I still think Calgary is a great investment and more affordable than here, but their housing market is booming and prices are starting to increase, and they will catch up to us sooner than later for sure. Now, again, when I talk about rentals, there is going to be a variance again. If you're going to be in the downtown core, you're going to be close to the college or probably the university, it's going to be more expensive for rentals. You know, you're in West Kelowna, you're in one of the missions, you're in the surrounding towns around the area, things are going to be a lot more affordable. But on average, from the research I've done, a studio apartment is going to cost you anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400 per month in rent. A one-bedroom apartment from $1,200 to $1,600, and a two-bedroom apartment anywhere from $1,600 to $2,200. Which, you know, I guess is a pretty big gap for that one, but it's really hard to nail down these numbers when, you know, you're trying to do averages of rental prices. You're looking at sites and stuff, and they're throwing in the West Kelowna to downtown, but that's what you can expect to pay in general for a place to rent in Kelowna. Now, looking at housing costs, this is somewhere where we stick out a bit. We're nowhere close to the mainland. We're going to be less expensive than Victoria, but the housing price compared to most places out east, except for Southern Ontario, is going to be decently high. The average price for a condo as of last month was $511,379. The average price of a townhome was $717,629. And the average price for a single family home was over $1 million at $1,026,478. Now, the average price for all of our products, you know, I take condos, townhouses, and single family homes and average out those prices. Generally, we hover between $700,000 to $750,000, sometimes a little higher. Hasn't been much lower in recent time, but that's where our housing market sits. You know, it's higher here. Get what you pay for. It's a beautiful lifestyle. The chances of prices going down dramatically isn't likely because we have the demand, we have the desirability. You know, this is a vacation and a destination place. This is where people want to come and want to live their lives, especially since COVID and people being able to work from home. You know, if you can work from home in rural middle of nowhere, or you can come live in Kelowna and work from home, most people are going to choose Kelowna. And we also have, you know, right now we have probably the most supply we've had in recent years, but we do tend to have limited supply due to the fact that we don't have that much ability to grow out and expand. Like I said in previous videos, we're growing up, but we don't have that much ability to grow outwards. So limited supply for the most part. Again, we have quite a bit of supply right now and high demand. kind of stabilizes our prices. We don't see as big a dips as the rest of the country, you know, like when interest rates go up. So you can expect housing prices to probably stay consistently high for the time being. And just know that we have additional fees here. I know a lot more provinces than I thought had this, but we have property transfer tax here. Look up what it is on the BC government website and if it's applicable for you, but that's going to generally probably add anywhere from 7,000 to, it depends how much you spend on your home because it's based off a percentage, $7,000+ on a transaction. We have speculation and vacancy tax. If you're thinking of just buying a place, leaving it vacant, there's going to be additional taxes. So BC does have a few more fees that, if you're interested in learning more about them, book a phone call with me, call, email, text anytime, and we can kind of go through the buying and selling process. I'm not going to get into it too much in this video, but I'm here to help you out and make this transition to move here as smooth as possible. Okay, now let's move on to healthcare. Now, public healthcare is available to all BC and permanent residents, and we have the medical services plan that's available in BC. It's a public health insurance plan that covers the cost of most necessary medical procedures or appointments. It covers costs by physicians, midwives, certain dentistry and oral procedures. Now, the nice thing is there used to be premiums for MSP, but that was eliminated back in January 2020, so no longer have to worry about that. Now, if you don't have MSP, you're not able to get it for some reason, you can probably expect to pay anywhere from $90 to $100 for a 15-minute doctor's visit. Kelowna residents who are ineligible for MSP or elect not to get it can expect to pay around $183 for individual healthcare insurance and around $549 for family coverage. If you're not covered by MSP and you're going to the dentist, it's likely going to cost you around $50 for a new patient intake and limited exam, around $74 for a complete exam and diagnosis, around $100 for a complete series of radiographs, and around $40 for polish. You're eligible for MSP. You'd be silly not to get it. If you own a pet in Kelowna, which I mean, everyone seems to own pets nowadays, it can cost you around $90 for an initial exam and consultation, and around $137 for a full exam regarding chronic illness. You can also get pet insurance here, which, you know, if you have cats and stuff, you're probably not going to get pet insurance. If you have dogs, especially dumb dogs, which a lot of dogs tend to be, it may be worth getting pet insurance, because I will tell you one thing, if you need to bring your pet to an emergency 24/7 vet ER, which I have multiple times, because if you have a pet and you have multiple pets, you know this, your animal only gets sick and hurt when the vet is closed, almost like a guarantee. So pet insurance will save you a lot of money for any big expenses. So the average monthly utility bill that includes electric, water, gas, garbage is going to be anywhere from $200 to $250 for a standard apartment. For a single family home, I asked my wife, she deals with the bills. I said, you know, what do we pay on average monthly for the entire year? What would you say it is? And she said for everything, it's around $350. We do notice for some reason, I don't know if it's the build of our house or what, that we pay a lot less for certain things than some of our friends or even our in-laws. So that can vary quite substantially. I think it was electricity. We seem to be lower than a lot of people. So make note of that and be checking your bills out all the time. The average monthly home insurance for someone is going to vary on size, but it's anywhere from $50 to $100 a month. So unfortunately, Fortis BC here has a monopoly on gas and electric here. So you don't have the ability like you do in some provinces to shop around and who gives the best deals and cheapest options for those things. So just keep that in mind. And I'm going to pop up the water map here. So it's not all just one water company that services all of Kelowna. You'll see from the map that depending on where you live, depending on where you buy, a different district is going to serve you. So I don't know if the bills are cheaper. We're with City of Kelowna, but I know there's Rutland Water District. So make sure when you're moving here that you call the right person to set up your water or turn it on, whatever you have to do. Now let's discuss childcare. And you know what? I feel like it's something that doesn't get talked about enough when people are looking at the cost of living, but many families are moving here, and this is something I think is really poignant for them and something that needs to be discussed. Now, if you are moving here, you're planning on having a kid or you have a kid on the way, stop whatever you're doing, just pause this video, make sure you watch the rest of it, but call a bunch of daycares, get on the waiting list. It is extremely hard to get your child into daycare. If you're even having sex, you should be calling daycares to get your kid on a waiting list. I know that sounds extreme, but I know so many people are struggling so much and are on so many waiting lists and just can't get their child in daycare. I lucked out extremely. We found an amazing daycare a couple blocks over. That is not the case for most people. So that's my biggest recommendation. Do it early and do it now. So we also have several different types of childcare here. We have daycare centers, we have family daycares, and we have preschool programs and nannies and babysitters. So daycare centers are typical centers, buildings that offer childcare to toddlers, infants, preschool programs, and they typically operate on a part-time or full-time basis. Family daycares like the one we got our child into are more intimate settings. They're usually smaller and they operate out of the caregiver's home, and their services can really vary. The one we go to has infants and toddlers, but it's really dependent on the place. Preschool programs are usually run out of schools for the most part and obviously focus on early education readiness for school. Nannies and babysitters, you obviously know how that works, and it's very personalized and can be more expensive, less expensive, depending on what kind of care you need. And now the childcare costs in Kelowna widely depend on the child's age, the type of care, the specific provider, the age of the child, but you know, if your child needs some specialized care. And one of the biggest things is if your child is part-time or full-time. On average, a daycare center is going to be anywhere from $800 to $1,500 a month. Family daycare is going to be anywhere from $600 to $1,200 on average a month. Preschool program anywhere from $300 to $700 a month. And nanny and babysitter, you can expect to pay, again, it varies drastically, but anywhere from $15 to $25 an hour. So something just to be aware of, another big disclaimer, is the child tax benefit, which you have to apply and you have to register for. But it's based on your income that you made that particular year, and it's usually a huge amount of coverage from the government that automatically gets deposited into your account and makes things a lot more affordable. Like I believe that with our family daycare that our kids in full time, it's around $250 to $300 a month with that tax benefit. So make sure you register for that. So I'd love to know your thoughts, because when I was doing this research, you know, I didn't think Kelowna was the most expensive place to live in Canada by any means, but I was surprised to know how average it was in terms of costs and living. Like I said, for certain areas like rental and the housing market, we're gonna rank a little higher. But for everything else across Canada, Kelowna really sat in that average to maybe just above average range. I think that the fact that inflation has raised the cost of living everywhere so drastically that this is more of a nationwide issue, and it's not just a city by city issue. We're all feeling the fact that the cost of living has increased. So hopefully if you were planning on moving here, this video provided enough information to put your mind at ease and generalize a lot of the costs that you were maybe concerned about, and helped you make your decision to move here a lot smoother and simpler. Now, when it comes to moving here, especially considering housing costs, there's going to be areas that are more expensive and more affordable. There's going to be areas that fit your lifestyle amazing and areas that absolutely do not work for you. And in order to figure that out, you need to talk to a local expert like myself. Book a call with me, and you can reach out by call, text, email. We'll schedule, we'll set something up, and I promise you that I will make your move here so much simpler. So make sure you reach out. The information is on the screen right now. If you haven't yet, subscribe to my channel to learn everything there is to know about living in Kelowna, BC and the Okanagan Valley. Stay tuned to the end of the video to look at my full map tour of living in Kelowna, British Columbia. Again, my name is Boholij with Century 21 Executives Realty and the Welcome Home team. This is my channel, Living in Kelowna, British Columbia, and I will check you in the next video.